Hello YouTube, hello, and we're back with another character. This time, to be fair, another annoying one, but not as annoying as most of the others that I covered. But yeah, it's Bryan. Bryan's a very strong character right now. I even would say he might be underrated a little bit, but he's pretty strong. A lot of people do know that he's strong. So yeah, we're going to be covering Bryan. There's a lot of stuff to talk about. This is going to be a full speed lab, not just a season 2 one, because I haven't done Bryan's speed lab in season 1. I think it was like a very long time ago, so I decided to do a full one. So yeah, it's gonna be another long one, just like the Victor, most likely anyway. But yeah, let's talk about Bryan. There's a lot to cover, to be fair. But yeah, so I'm gonna divide this into 3 sections, which is gonna be, usually I do a neutral and then heat, right? Usually, but I also want to cover wall situations because it's Bryan, and Bryan's wall situations are a little bit unique because of his taunt. So first, neutral, right? There are like 3 plus frame tools that you have to worry about, and after these plus frame tools, they do checks that are like very similar to each other. So let me just showcase them. Right, QCB1 is a plus frame tool that they can use from very far range. Right, it's also a counter launcher, and to be fair, back 1 and QCB1, these two are long range plus frame tools that they can use. And these are also counter launchers, right? So you have to be careful, very careful whenever you block them, or get hit by them, or get countered by them. You don't want to get countered by them, basically, right? So these two, pretty damn common, and the other one is also a hatchet kick. So the hatchet kick is also another very good plus frame tool that Bryan players may use to use the plus frames and then check you or whatever, mix you up. Okay, so these 3 are the main ones, more or less. These 3 are the main ones. I'll talk about the other tools as well, but for now let's talk about these 3. So let's start with back 1. So back 1 +4, right? +4 doesn't force crouch or anything. You're very close to your opponent, and it's a very similar mind game to a hatchet kick. The only difference to a hatchet kick is 1 frame. It has some differences because of the frame, but nothing too much, basically, right? So now let's cover the options that Bryan players have after these 2 moves. As I said, very similar options. So if I talk about back 1, which I will right now, it's basically the same for this. So the most common options you will see here is down 2, down forward 1, this move, or down forward 2. These are the most common options if they want to check you with mids, right? And there are like 3 options. All 3 of them are mids, right? So they're very strong, and the reason behind that is that they track you to opposite sides. So let me just show it. So for example, something like a down 2 will track you if you go to the right. So this is like full tracking to the right. You cannot step this to the right. I'm not too sure if some other characters may step this, but Kaz, for example, cannot. He has like an average side step mostly, right? Mostly average. So down 2 cannot be stepped to that side, but you can step it to the left side, right? If you go left and you think a down 2 is coming, you will step it, if you're correct, right? So doing something like that against down 2 is gonna be very strong. Now let's check down forward 1, right? So a down forward 1 here also has a very good tracking to the right side. So even if you go to the right, these 2 moves will mostly track you. So down forward 1 can also track to the left a little bit, but if you do it correctly, you can avoid the last hit, let's say. Right? If they do 3 hits. If they do 2 hits, maybe not. But sidewalk left or sidestep left is still not a bad option against down forward 1, even though it kind of still hits you. Right? It really depends on the range and a lot of stuff. But yeah, that's about the down forward 1, more or less. And the last option I told you was down forward 2. So down forward 2 is not used as much, but down forward 2 is the option that will track you if you go to the left and not fully commit to it, right? If you commit to it like that, it's gonna be fine. But if you step block very fast, you will get tracked. I guess I was step blocking a little bit late in the animation. But yeah, this will track you a little bit. It's not the main thing that they will use. As I said, you won't really see this that much, but I just wanted to mention it. I actually am surprised how easily you can step this. I haven't really labbed it that much because, as I said, you don't really see Bryan players use this that much. But yeah, you can step this easier than you could in 7. But yeah, down forward 2 one of the options, but as I said, you don't really have to pay attention to this too much, but it's just one of the options that they might do. But if they want to track to the left, they do some other stuff, but I'll go to them later. First, I want to talk about down forward 1 and down 2. So down forward 2, before I go to those two, the down forward 2 has one line in the game, is that the down forward 2-1 is a high, sometimes maybe you want to duck it, and down forward 2-3 is a mid, right? And if you duck it, this is going to hit you. It's a very normal mind game, but that's not the threatening thing that's actually happening against Bryan. The threatening part about down forward 2 is the down forward 2 into a delayed 3, right? This can be slightly delayed, and even if you don't delay it, it looks like it's delayed. So the thing about down forward 2 is that the more you block this, sometimes you may feel like, oh, I'm going to retaliate, let's say, right? But this is going to counter it you. So something like this into down forward 2-3, it might counter it you if you, let's say, do this and then try to launch it, right? Even if you go the other side. So this kind of stuff you have to be very, very careful about. So the second hit counter launcher is what's the scary part about it. Even if you block it and you think it's your turn, let's say you try to jab, you'll get counter it. So you have to be patient. And the big thing about this is that you usually have to punish with a down back 1-2. This is gonna be your down back 1-2. And you do not do back 1-2. It usually does not work. So you either down forward 4, which is this, as a 13 front punish, or the better version is going to be down back 1. Right? So down back 1 is amazing. It's really, really good in this situation, in these kind of situations in general. Okay, that's about that. It's nothing too complicated. But now let's talk about down 2 and down forward 1. So down forward 1 is a little bit more complicated. Because I said down forward 1 sometimes can track you. It really depends on a lot of situations, to be fair. Even if you do step to the left, sometimes they'll track you if they do 2 hits into the follow-up, for example, right? It might catch you. Let me just demonstrate that. But usually you won't see that. Bryan players, it's a little bit of a tip, usually will do 3 hits to confirm, usually. But I think I was messing up the second hit's delay. Damn, it's actually hard to do 2 hits into it. You know, it's kind of hard. Maybe that's why you don't see it that much. So you will usually see 3 hits, usually. But as I said, the 3 hits, if you step left correctly, the 3rd hit is gonna miss. So it can work out. Definitely can work out. Again. So yeah, back 1 to down forward 1, it is one of the options. Then the thing about down forward 1 is that you can actually punch parry the follow-ups if they delay it enough. Let's say you'd see the down forward 1 coming. You can literally just start mashing a punch parry when you see this getting blocked. And punch parry the 3rd hit. I think you can also punch parry the 2nd one if it's delayed enough. But usually the 3rd hit is the one you want to punch parry. Usually. The other thing I would also recommend is to backdash. Because if you just tap back, you have the possibility of getting away from Bryan's hits in general, and then punishing with whatever, right? Electric is preferred, but yeah. It's not always gonna work, but you should just try it anyway, right? Just tap back. If you backdash, you'll have some space, and you'll be able to punish if you're ready for it. So this is just a good thing to do, and it's safe to do as well. If you try a parry, maybe it's not as good, because maybe something's gonna hit you. I'm not quite sure. I haven't lived the situation on Bryan's side too much, but it is possible to parry it, so it's a good thing to know. In general, it's a good thing to know. But down forward 1 in general has a mind game when each of these hits are -10. So most of you guys will already know this, but I'm gonna say it anyway. So down forward 1, after the 2nd hit, all of the hits are -10. So -10, 10, 10. All of them are -10. So you can actually punish these, but they have mix-ups. So the mix-up to the 2nd hit is the 3rd hit. And the mix-up to the 3rd hit is the 4th hit. Because you have to guess when they're gonna stop, right? And there is a mix-up for the 4th hit as well, which is this last one. But usually you won't see this that much unless they're hard reading you, right? Because it's launch punishable. You won't see this that much. But you have to basically guess when to punish him. Either the 2nd hit, 3rd hit, or the 4th hit. And then punish him. If you do block this, let's say he messes up, right? and he does this, you have to launch it. Electric hit or down forward 1-4. Either one of these two is gonna work. Electric's gonna be preferred, right? And other than that, down forward 1 is just very, very strong because as you guys saw, the tracking of this is pretty decent. It's not bad at all. He usually tracks fully sidestep right and he's plus frames, and sidestep left slightly. Sometimes, depends on the situation, right? So, yeah, down forward 1. Now let's talk about down 2. So down 2 has full tracking to one side. It's already showcased, so you cannot go right. In the plus frame situations I listed, you cannot go right. So you have to go left and then punish, whatever the case, right? Something like that. But one thing you have to remember about down 2 is that it has a follow-up. So this is a mind game on block as well. So if you block this and you try to, let's say, jab, you will get launch punished. If he delays that, then delay it. There we go. And you will usually see this delayed. Down 2, you try to jab, you're gonna get launched. Not launch punished, but you're launched. So in the case that when you sidestep it, you also have to be quick enough to launch with an electric, let's say, right? Sometimes they won't delay it. So if they don't delay it, it will be a little bit harder to do this. Since he is delaying it, which is, I made him delay it, the AI is delaying it, right? It's a little bit easier, you have a little bit more time. But, yeah, you have to be careful here, still. Because the follow-up is gonna counter launch you if you're too slow. So be careful about that. Other than that, down 2, as a move, like without anything, right, is just a very, very strong poke and the checking tool. Super, super strong. So if you just look at the properties, and yeah, bears, I am recording. If you just look at the properties, it's -2. So the -2 plus 8 fully tracks one side. It's an elbow, so you can't parry it. So it's very, very strong with a follow-up, right? And the follow-up is -10, the counter launching knee that I showcased. So if you do block the full thing, you have to just jab punish it. So it's very, very strong, and there's a lot of mind games after down 2. So let me just first demonstrate this. It's -10, you have to 1-1-2. But let me showcase the mind games of down 2. So whenever you block a down 2, Bryan players have a lot of options. They can just do this into 1-2-1, which is one of the classics. Do this into 1-2-4. Do this into finish it. Do this into sidestep, either side, right? Or do this into full crouch this. This is new. Or do that into full crouch while standing 4. This is also possible. Or while standing 3. So these are usually the options you will see. Or they can also just keep on doing it. You know, this or just this kind of stuff. The moves I just listed. You can just keep on doing it. So it's very, very risky if you try something. Because 1, this is gonna counter launch you. 2, you can sidestep it. Right? You can sidestep everything. This is only -2. Same thing. Thanks for the follow. So the -2 frames, as I said, is a very, very strong move, so you have to be careful about your options. Sometimes smashing can be okay, but you just have to know what you're doing, right, is what I'm saying. You can also do something like this into forward 3, like Bryan players love doing stuff like this. This is forward 3 example. So, yeah, just be careful about this move, and be aware of the mind games after it, which I already listed, right? Something like double down 2, something like into full crouch. So this is something I didn't mention fully, that this can go into full crouch. If the Bryan player holds down, he can use full crouch moves, which I already showcased, right? But if he doesn't hold down, he can just use normal moves like magic 4. Instead of while standing 4, you get the magic 4, right? Standing 4. So, yeah, this is very important to know, and it's very, very important to understand that this -2 situation is not in your favor, usually. Because if you try to jab, Bryan player will sidestep it. If you try to jab, they may be crouching and, you know, bait it out, let's say, right? Or sidestep is like one of the most common options. You want to play safe, you either sidestep block after it, or just backdash, if you want to play safe. If you sidestep, they might start doing stuff like this as well, which are his tracking moves. So let me talk about his tracking moves. So down to mind game, as I said, it's this mostly. It's a bit complicated, but mostly it's this. So tracking moves. So 1+2 and down forward 4. Down forward 4 is a move that you won't see that much, but you might sometimes see it. Some Bryan players will use this more than others, but it's a great move. It's a very, very good move. It's 23 frames fast, and it's -5, right? -5 is a super, super good frames for a tracking move like this. It's a bit on the slower side, but it's not that slow. It's okay, right? And this also guarantees a QCB4, and that the wall can even combo with something like this, depends on the angle. So it's a super, super good move. And the best part about this, obviously, I told you, is the frames on it, right? -5 is not that bad. Really not that bad. And whenever you block this, or Bryan player doesn't make you block, they might sidestep, they might 1-1, 1-4, like this kind of stuff. They might use a power crush, let's say, because it's -5, right? So there's a lot of stuff they can do, but you just have to look out for it. And the usage of this, as I said, is not going to be that often, but they might sometimes do it, so it's good to keep it in mind. The other one is going to be way more often, which is 1+2. So 1+2 is going to be their go-to tracking move. At least most Bryans do this for their go-to. And they will use this in the mind game after back 1, QCB1, or hatchet. The 3+ frame moves you have to look out for. These 3, they will use this. So you basically have to know that it's one of their options. And it's a very, very oppressive option because it's fast enough to kind of check you, unless you do maybe a 12 frame move after a hatchet, let's say, or just QCB1, right? Because it's +5. Unless you do a 12 frame move, it will trade with a 12 frame move. And if you want to do faster, then yeah, you'll win it. Let's say, back 1 to 1+2, if you do jabs here, you will win. Thankfully, Bryan doesn't crush the Kazuya jabs after back 1, right? But yeah, you will win here. It's not a frame trap or anything, but you can't do big moves. Let's say you're down 4-2, you cannot do that. You can do a magic 4 because it's +4, but yeah, usually your big moves you can't do against something like this. And the thing about this move is that it's not only just a what's it called? A tracking move. I don't know, brain fart. So yeah, it's not only a tracking move, but it's also a very, very good mind game tool. Because not only does this just check you, but it's also -7, which is not that bad, for something that has delayable strings. So 1+2 and 1 is one thing that he has. This is not delayable, but it's a high follow-up that you kind of have to duck, right? Because this is -1 and it becomes 0 if he goes to the stance. Holds back and he does this. So this is 0 and you have to just look out for it. Whenever you do block it, be careful about what you press, because this might counter launch you, this right here. So it's usually better whenever you block this, you just sidestep, right? Sidestep either side. Usually you go right, it's a little bit more consistent, but either side is gonna work, and then launch punish. You have to be quick, but yeah, you have to launch punish. This is for the situation when you don't duck it, right? But now let's talk about the other one, which is the 2. So this is a mini mind game and a mini mix-up that he has. If you do duck this, you might get hit by this. So it's a mid or a high, right? If you fuzzy it, okay, great, but it's gonna be hard to fuzzy because it's only a 3-frame fuzzy. It's very, very hard to fuzzy in 3 frames. It's not gonna be easy. Possible, not easy. So yeah, be careful about this, but the biggest thing about this move is that it's delayable. So this can be delayed by a lot. As you guys can see, very delayable. So what does this mean? The delayable property of this basically enables Bryan to stop you from doing anything after you block this, right? If you think it's your turn and you try to jab, let's say, right? You are gonna get counter launched. And this will hurt because it's Bryan, obviously. Every time Bryan just taps you on the shoulder, you get hurt by a lot. So yeah, be very careful about this. And even though it's -7, this -7 is actually really good for Bryan, because this follow-up has a huge delay, which basically stops you from doing anything. Of course, it is risky. It's -14. If you can electrocute, it's gonna be good to electrocute, but yeah, usually a hit engager is gonna be guaranteed here for most of the cast. For Gaz, it's down back 1-2. So yeah, be very careful about this. So it's the mind game of them just doing this, let's say. If they do this into this, they might even continue pressure after it, right? And they might press jabs, this kind of stuff. That's the main reason why, because you're too afraid of, this. And the good Bryan players, if they see you, let's say, mashing after this, they might throw this out. Might. So it's a mind game. Be very careful about this. And this is a very, very strong homing move. So yeah, it's just good to know. Very important to know. Okay. So I already talked about back 1, hatchet being the plus range moves. Let me talk about back 1's weakness a little bit. So back 1 does have a lot of range, but the biggest weakness this move has, I didn't record, is that it's steppable, right? That's the biggest weakness. You don't want to block this, but you do want to step it. If you step to the left, it has slide tracking, as you guys can see, right? Slide tracking to the left does exist. I say slide, but damn, that was kind of good. But yeah, going to the right is usually your go-to against Bryan in the neutral anyway, right? Outside of close range, going to the right into neutral is gonna be your go-to to avoid most of the stuff. So that's about back 1. I already talked about the block situation, and it's exactly the same for QCB1. So QCB1 in the neutral, you also kind of want to step to the right. This is gonna be a little bit harder to step because Bryan players can realign. Right now, I'm just timing it because I know the timing of the AI doing it. Obviously, right? It's not that gonna be this easy. Like, it's gonna look like something like that in the real game, right? When you can't time it perfectly. So you have to be very careful about this move. But usually you do want to go to the right. Usually. So yeah, you go to the right and then try to, you know, launch it or punish it in any way. So yeah, this is very important. Very, very important. And QCB1, as I said, has the same mind games as the back one, the hatchet. Only there are some exceptions. So the exception for QCB1, since I'm talking about it, is that they will not do, usually they will not do down forward 1 after it. This doesn't have the range. This will usually whiff, right? They will not do this. Down 2 is pretty doable. And the best thing about here, so let me just introduce the new move. The mids that I just listed and the tracking moves, let me just introduce another option. And this option is one of the most busted options that Bryan has, in my opinion, because it makes this mind game very Bryan favorite. Very, very Bryan favorite. And the option is down 4. So his down 4 basically exists here, and it does like very, very multiple functions. It does like basically everything that you would ask for, and it's a low as well. So yeah. So what it does is it basically frame checks you in the +5 situations, right? Like hatchet, and this is +5, down 4, 15. It's a frame trap. You can't even down jab this. It will trade, and usually Bryan's gonna be in the plus whenever that happens, right? So yeah, down 4 does that. That's one thing. Let me just showcase this, right? So if you try to jab, Bryan's +5. Down jab, okay, that's 0. Damn. Crazy. Bryan's not plus. But yeah, this will trade. So a jab will not work. Obviously, a power crush also won't work because it's still low. But the thing is, you can't do anything about this. You cannot sidestep this, right? No steps allowed. And you cannot backdash this. Usually, anyway. You can backdash this maybe in very long ranges. Something like that. But usually, you will not be able to backdash this. So this option basically covers 100% of the things that you would ever do against Bryan. Let's say you sidestep, it's gonna beat it. You press, it's gonna beat it. Power crush, it beats it. Rage dart, it won't beat. Rage dart, it won't beat. But everything else, it beats it. The only thing that you have to do against this is duck. You know, and one very important thing about this is that you cannot backdash duck. Very important. Or long range duck. Because this move has so much range that your punish is gonna whiff. Right? And I love backdash ducking. Personally, I love doing it. So this is like this is horrible for me personally. Right? And you can't do this. If you want to do something about this, you have to backdash into a low parry instead. Right? Not a duck, but a low parry. Very, very important. If you want to actually do something about this, other than hard reading it and hard reading it via something else. Right? So, yeah. Something like that. Very, very important. I feel like I'm missing something. But yeah, as I said, tracks both sides. Tracks both sides. Catches your back dashes. It's a frame trap. It's a low. So unless you do, chat suggests a hop kick, but that's basically what's it called? A hard read. Yeah, it's a hard read, right? You can also just up 3, I guess. This is the equivalent of a hop kick, by the way. We don't have a hop kick scouts, but I guess you can. If you want like higher reward. And the one thing is you cannot delay hop kick. You cannot do it. You cannot delay hop kick this. So yeah, very, very important. Alright, so that's about down 4, and this option exists for all of the situations that I talked about, like these ones, the plus frame situations. The only difference is after back 1 you can actually interrupt this. Like jab is gonna beat it, down jab is gonna beat it. Like that's the biggest difference. But yeah. Okay, so these are the checking tools. More or less, these are the checking tools that Bryan players will use. There's also one more that some Bryan players use to check you for sidestepping to the left. So I did talk about this. So if they want to check you to step to the left, they might do a magic for standing. This move right here. And this move is a very, very reliable check if they see you stepping to the left. You cannot step this, you are gonna get hit. You can't step block it, you can't do anything about this, right? It's too fast. So you can step it to the right, but the second hit actually tracks you quite well if you do a step into a block, which is usually the correct thing to do, right? Step into a block. But in this situation, you have to actually sidewalk. You have to sidewalk, right? Very, very important. But this is just a hard read kind of thing. You can also duck it, let's say, right? Something like this, also possible, but as I said, you have to expect it. Unless you expect it, it's not really something you should be doing anyway. Usually, close range, sidestepping the left is the option, but this will beat you. And good Bryan players might use this. They might use this. But down 4 will also beat you. As I said, down 4 is like a universal option that beats literally everything, they don't have to think about it. So, yeah, very, very important. Okay. So that's about that. After back 1, and as I said, all the options I covered, they're all for the plus frame situations, all of them. Like one exception is this. Let me just showcase that to show it. And the reason down forward 1 is not being used after this is because this has pushback, and down forward 1 just doesn't work. Because of the pushback, it doesn't work. If it didn't have pushback, they would use it because down forward 1 is also those moves that just works. It works really, really well. Very hard to deal with the move. Alright. That's about the plus frame moves, more or less. Now let's talk about some of the other neutral tools. So other than down 4, he does have another low, which is down back 3, right? But you won't see this that much. They might sometimes do it instead of down 4 in the plus frame situations, right? They might, which is possible. And this is a slightly different mind game. And down 4. So let's cover the lows, right? I'm going to start with down back 3, then I'm going to go to down 4. Because it's very important to understand the mind game on down 4. So down back 3 is a little bit more simple, because this forces crouch on Bryan. The most common thing you will see here is a while standing 3. So down back 3, while standing 3, will track you to the right if you do try to step it, right? Very, very important, and you have to go left. So going left against Bryan in general is going to be a good idea. Unless they, do something very specific about it. But if you try to mash something slow, let's say down 4-2, you will get countered. Right? You can mash up to 12, it will trade with 13, but it will counter everything else. And the biggest thing about this move is that Bryan players can just, sidestep after it, so even if you do mash something, they can sidestep and it will punish you with whatever, right? It's a pretty simple mind game. They usually do a while standing 3, sometimes while standing 4, but most of the time they will do either a backdash or a sidestep, right? To just bait something out. So very, very important about down back 3. But now let's talk about the problem move, right? I already talked about down 4, about how it just basically covers everything. Full crouch down 4. Oh yeah, I forgot this. Yeah, this is one of them. This also beats jabs, so you have to be careful. I think it just beats highs in general. So yeah, one of the flowcharts. This is an old flowchart from Tekken 7 as well. But yeah, now let's talk about the problem move. Excuse me. Which is down 4. So down 4, in my opinion, is the best low. This low is absolutely insane. So I already talked about this, how it covers all options after his plus frames, right? Because the tracking move low, very fast, very, very long range, and it's very hard to do anything about this, right? Very, very hard to do anything about this. But now let's talk about what happens when you get hit by it. So I already talked about the block situation, that if you block it from very far, you can't actually punish it. You can't punish it sometimes. It's too far, while staying 4 is gonna whiff. So you just keep that in mind sometimes, and if you do see it coming, then try to react to it, maybe do something else instead of punishing it, maybe dash in electric, dash in 4-4-3, whatever, right? Just remember sometimes you cannot punish this. Now let's talk about the hit situation. Very important. So the hit situation is 0, does 13 damage, which is quite a chunk to be fair for a move like this, and pushes you back by quite a far. Even if you're close, it still has quite a bit of pushback, right? And this pushback is one of the most important things to understand about this move and why this is so damn strong. So this pushback basically enables Bryan to make you not do anything, because he can either sidestep or backdash and basically make everything that you do whiff, right? Because now you're scared to do anything, because obviously he can very easily make everything whiff. Hell, I don't think he can just hold back and everything's gonna whiff anyway. Like, even if I try a down 4-2 here, it just whiffs. Electric. I messed up my electric. It's just gonna whiff. I can even back 4 and might whiff sometimes. There you go, it whiffed. Forward 3 won't whiff, I guess. Like, he's not even backdashing, he's just holding back. So this is very important to realize that down 4 basically locks you down. And you cannot do anything about the slow because it tracks you as well. You have to commit to a duck or a low parry, usually low parry, because as I said, you cannot punish this move on longer ranges. Like in the neutral, when he uses a down 4, let's say, right? Just used it. Oh my god. Why is it not working? There we go. Like, sometimes it's gonna be far range, so it won't be punishable when you're backdash ducking, right? So that's why it's important to sometimes realize that he likes doing down 4s and low parry the character, which is very strong for a character like Bryan that forces you to low parry him in literally mid range like this, and you're forced to low parry. You're just forced to do it because, as I said, you can't do anything else about the down 4, and you don't want to get hit by it either, and you don't want to block it either. So yeah, down 4 is a very busted move. It's a very busted move. It's one of the best lows in the game, and it's 100% the best low that Bryan has, in my opinion, right? So when you get hit by this, you usually are starting in a mini mind game, right? Not a mini mind game, it's a full mind game. And the mind game is if the Bryan player just keeps on going and, you know, starts poking you, or, you know, doing stuff like this, which is one of the things that they can do. Vift and Profile. Or they can just bait something out, you know, sidestep, and if they bait something out, they will whip punish you, and if they don't see anything, they will keep pressuring you, because Bryan players are very smart like that. They decide to do both because they can. So yeah, down 4, super strong move, and sometimes you have to go on the aggressive, sometimes, but sometimes you have to chill, because Bryan is Bryan, and you can very easily counter launch it. Very easily. Power Surf thing reform. So, yeah, remember that. Very important to realize. Damn it, the follows though. Dwayne also thank for follow. You guys like the Bryan Speedlab. But, yeah, down 4, as I said, super strong. Very important to low parry it because you can't do much about it otherwise. You can also do something like a hop kick or orbital if you have one. Oz has none, so yeah, you have to low parry this Kazuya player, but if you play someone with an orbital, it's gonna be good. It's gonna give you good reward, and maybe the Bryan player is gonna stop spamming it. But yeah, other than that, super strong move. Super strong. And the timing of this basically offsets the timing of a hatchet, which makes hatchet even stronger than it already is. So yeah, good luck with that. So the thing about hatchet, so let me just mention this whilst I was mentioning lows. Hatchet is one of those moves I mentioned at the start, which is a plus frame move, and it has exactly the same mind games with down 2, down forward 1, down forward 2, forward 1, and down 4. Right? Exact same mind games. But the thing about hatchet is that it's a low and forces you to duck in long range as well, but it forces you to duck on a different timing with a down 4. That's why I meant that it offsets the timing, right? So very important. Other than that, there's also one more option, which leads to countered options. So I'm going to talk about countered options. So the countered options Bryan has is usually 4-3, which is his best one, and 3+4, which you won't see that much. Right? These are usually his countered moves, and back 1 I already talked about, which is a countered launcher. Right? So let's talk about this first, which is 3+4, because you won't see this as much as 4-3. So 3+4 is a linear move. That's the main weakness of it. It's also -13. You can't really punish it because of the pushback. Like, for example, you won't be able to punish with down forward 4 or down back 1. You can't punish it. But the weakness of this move is that it's steppable. Right? It is steppable. Very, very important that if they do like doing it, you have to step it. But it has slight tracking to the left. It used to have more tracking, but now it has slight tracking. They did nerf this move. But yeah, you have to go to the right to make it more consistent. Make it more consistent to go to the right. I'm going to talk about the heat version of this move later, by the way. This is right now without heat. I'm not talking about the heat version because they have different properties. Okay, just to the +4. Now let's talk about forward 3. So forward 3 is also a counter launcher, 16 frames fast. Close range, doesn't have that much range, right? It has okay range, but not that much. Like this reaches, which is, you know, pretty okay. It's like 2.1 maybe. It's more like a 2.0 range. But yeah, forward 3 has decent range, it's not too bad. But usually you don't want to backdash it, right? If you want to avoid this, usually you backdash it and then punish it. But it's a 0 on block or sometimes +1 on block, like that, +1. Knee counter launcher. +4 on hit. Very, very good, and the Bryan players use this to check you in plus frame situations sometimes. Right? For example, hatchet into this, back one into this, or even this into this sometimes can be used. But, very important to realize that usually Bryan players will delay this. So what they do, because they're smart, is they do this into this, right? They delay it, forward dash, and then forward 3. The main reason they do this is because 1, they need the space because this has pushback, and 2, you usually hesitate against Bryan to press instantly, but if you see them to not press anything for a little bit, you might mash. So it's the same with this kind of stuff, right? This, delay forward 3, to catch you counter hit on a little bit of a delayed time, right? And this is very, very common, and it's just very, very important to realize that it can happen. So something like this into that, and whenever you try, let's say, backdash into electric and you're too slow, you will get countered. Sidestep into an electric, you will get countered. Sidestep button, backdash button, right? This kind of stuff. And the main reason they do this is exactly for those situations. When you do a backdash into a jab, let's say backdash into a button, sidestep into a button, this will catch them and also realign because of the forward dash. And avoiding this is going to be very hard unless you instantly mash. So the only weakness this has is if you're just mashing, right? Instantly. Damn, I even made him block the 1-1. That's crazy. You can also backdash sidestep, but yeah, good luck doing stuff like that, right? Usually stuff like that don't really happen. But yeah, it's just very important to realize that this is a thing, and that forward 3 is very strong. It's very, very strong, and as I said, it can be 0 or plus, so let's talk about the mind games afterwards, right? So this is a countered move that they can use instantly as well, like jab into forward 3, common, or jab into dash forward 3, which I already talked about, right? Jab is also a plus frame move, I just didn't mention it because the jab, obviously everyone has it, but yeah. Forward 3. Let's talk about mind games after it, right? This is 0 on block or +1. The most common option you'll see after this is either a 1-2-1 or a 1-2-4, depending if there's a wall behind you or not. 1-4 usually comes out if there's a wall. 1-1 usually comes out if there's not a wall. But to be fair, it doesn't really matter that much to you. The only reason you want to know this is that you sometimes duck the 1-4, right? You do this for the wall splat. This doesn't wall splat. It's just that simple. Okay. So 1-1, 1-4, one of the most common options, and the thing to do about something like this is to commit to a sidestep, right? You have to commit to it, something like this, because the second hit kind of tracks you, the last hit also kind of tracks you sometimes, right? Like that. So you have to commit. If you go right, it will work a little bit more consistently, but the last hit also tracks you here. So you have to, as I said, commit to a sidewalk to avoid everything. If you do a sidestep left, sometimes the last hit whiffs. Sometimes it doesn't. If you go to the right and block, the last hit will always hit you, no matter what. And if you try to punish it, let's say you try to punish the 1-2, you might get counter launched because, you know, it's Bryan. Counter launch, it's -6 as well. Very important, by the way. This is -6, which means they can mash afterwards. Or sidestep. Or parry, or whatever. They can do a lot afterwards. 1-1 does not end their turn. Usually. Anyway. Oh, yeah. or power crush, let's say. So 1-2-1, very important to realize that that's an option that they have. It's very hard to deal with unless you, let's say, hard read it with a high crushing low, can happen, or you sidestep it fully with a sidewalk, right? And don't stop sidewalking because the last hit will track you pretty well. Okay, that's about 1-2-1. I also mentioned 1-2-4. Let me just additionally mention 1-2-4. That this also has full tracking, the last hit, right? You cannot go to the left against this in plus frames. I would usually suggest to go right against the 1-2 jabs in general. But the last hit also tracks you. You can see that if I stop sidewalking, let me just sidewalk without stopping. I can't sidewalk, amazing. It will still track you. Right? This is just tracking. You cannot avoid this. Even if you make the first two whiff, damn, I just electric through it. That was sick. But yeah, you can't really avoid this. You have to either punish quickly enough. How am I doing this consistently? That's crazy. I messed that up. Oh, there we go, I messed that up. But yeah, you have to either punish quickly enough, or duck it, or I don't know, I guess that's the only options. Yeah, I'm guessing that's the only options. So you have to be careful. Very, very careful. Usually the best thing to do here is gonna be sidewalks to jab punish, right? Just to stay safe. It'll also be the 1-2 into 1, right? To stay safe, you just have to jab punish because, you know, it's Bryan. And you can't really avoid these options that consistently. Okay. And the big, very important thing about this, by the way, very, very important thing, is that they can use these jab strings in their plus frames. Like the first 3 moves I talked about, just hatchet, back 1, and QCB1, they can use these jab strings there as well. And these jab strings track there to the left. So I said about tracking to the left, they might use this, right? Add another option to that, which is a jab. 1-2 or 1 jab, doesn't matter, right? Very important, if you do go to the left, jabs will hit you and you cannot do anything about them. That's why it's important to go to the right sometimes. But then down 2 will hit you and down forward 1 is also gonna hit you, so yeah, good luck guessing, I guess. And G-Clef is not countered confirmable per se, but they can situation confirm it sometimes. Right, if they see you mashing and they do a 1-2, since it's a 3-hit string, they can just, you know, see it and finish it sometimes, right? But it's hard. They usually commit to it. Usually. So that's why it's important to duck it after 1-2, if you do see it coming. Because on block, I forgot to mention this. On block, this is -5. This is -6, right? It's a mid. This is a high, it's -5. So his turn is still not ending here. He can do this into another this. You will see Bryan players do something like this sometimes. This into that. Or this into power crush. That's not power crush. This, there we go. Right, let's say. Possible. So very, very important to realize this. Am I forgetting anything in the neutral? There's one more thing in the neutral, which is an orbital. This is not something that you deal with like per se. You just have to bait it out, punish it whenever you can. But it's as a keep out move, you have to be ready for it. Right? Just be ready for it and try to punish it whenever you can. Because on block, it's -5, right? It's pretty damn good on block. It is slight pushback if he does the correct version of it without the forward swing, right? The up orbital. So be very, very careful. This good frames, they'll launch you instantly. It's slow crush, so yeah. QCF 1+2, I didn't. Thank you for reminding me. So QCF 1+2, almost forgot. So QCF 1+2 and QCB1. These 2 moves. I did talk about QCB1, but the thing about QCB1, I said to sidestep to the right. So the thing about sidestep right is that this has the potential of sometimes tracking you. They did nerf this, so it's way, way worse now. But if they do it correctly, it can still track you. Right now I'm stepping it perfectly, right? As I said, I know the timing of the AI, so I know when to step. But if you don't know when to step on the exact timing, something like this is gonna happen, right? When the elbow is gonna catch you. So it's very, very, very hard to actually avoid this with a sidestep sometimes, right? You have to time it correctly and then punish it. But yeah, just important to know that this exists. And do not try to step it to the left. You just don't even try. Just don't. You know? Don't do it. So you have to go right. No matter what in the neutral, like if there's distance towards, like some distance between you and Bryan, you have to go right. For QCB1, QCB1 plus 2, 3 plus 4, those moves, you have to go right. If you're close, now you have to guess either sidestep left, sidestep right, because Bryan is a very, very balanced character. Alright. And the options he has are also very strong for both directions. That's why he's so balanced. But, yeah. So, yeah, that's important. QCB2, I can talk about that move as well, but this is also something that you don't deal with that much, but let me just mention this. So the thing about QCB2 is that it's a -9 mid, very, very long range, right? It's pretty damn long range, and they can kind of confirm it sometimes. Sorry, hello. It's not that confirmable per se, but they can situation confirm it way easier, so if you're, let's say, stepping, let's say mashing, they will confirm it and finish it. That way it's easy. But, this has a mind game with you ducking it, right? So if you duck it, let's say you duck this. They can do this, and then maybe sidestep after it, or jab after it, or whatever. It's a slight mind game, and the mind game works because there's a huge delay on this as well. So the things that can be delayed and things that can't be delayed have very, very different mind games. For example, my down forward 1 and down forward 1-4 doesn't have a duck mind game because it cannot be delayed. So you can fuzzy this very, very easily. If I could delay down forward 1-4, let's say, the mind game would be a lot stronger. Let's say, right? The same with down forward 1-2. Exactly the same. Since they cannot be delayed in any way, the mind game is way, way weaker than something that can be delayed. Something like Bryan's QCB2, right? Or it's exactly the same with something like this. Even though it's a mid-mid, the idea is exactly the same. Same with this, even though this can't be delayed, the mid can't be delayed. So that's the idea of a mind game. Am I from Georgia? Yes, I am. I am from Georgia. Okay. So, yeah, I think that's it for the neutral. Hopefully I didn't forget anything, more or less. I think the important part I did talk about. So now let's go to the wall. Let's talk about wall stuff. My god, it's gonna be a long one. 4-4-4. I did forget to mention this as one of the tracking moves, but you don't see this that much. You can basically treat this as another tracking move, right? For like this, and this. You can basically treat this as another one, as one of the options. It is -9. Not many mind games, you can check them. Usually they might mash here, but yeah. Yeah. Okay. Let's go to the wall. That was not to the wall. There we go. So we're gonna talk about 2 wall situations. There's a lot, I know, but we're gonna talk about just the 2 because I'm not gonna talk about everything. Okay. So, and I don't even know everything. So the 2 most common ones, we'll talk about those. So 2 most common ones is wall splat into this, which is at the end of the combo, right? You do this. That's a wall combo. This wall combo, and the other one we're going to talk about is any sort of ender that ends with this move. Doesn't matter what they do. They sometimes do this into this, right? As long as they end with this, it's the same. Exactly the same. And usually what you'll see is the powered up version of it, which is something like this, right? This is usually what you're going to see. So these 2 wall combos are what we're going to talk about. So this wall combo, very important, has a less Oki than the other one. So this does not allow taunt Oki as much. So you can sometimes stand up without too much of a risk. Like it won't instantly catch you at taunt, right? It won't instantly catch you. So this is a tech roll mix-up because of this move right here, right? This guarantees something like a back 4, let's say, right? I can't do it for a reason, but it does guarantee it. If he does it correctly, and Bryan players will be able to do it correctly. Then there's also jet upper, which I can't do. Jet upper, not anymore anyway. I used to be able to in 7, but yeah, not anymore. I'm way worse at it. But yeah, taunt, very, very scary in general, so you have to sometimes stay on the ground. And side roll. Always side roll, do not just stay on the ground, side roll. Either direction, usually at the opposite side of the wall. Okay, and that's about that. And as I said, this is slightly less soaking than the other one. But when I talked about the other one, which is this one, this is a very scary situation, basically. Because this, after they do this wall combo, you have to pay attention to this, right? It's usually not worth to stand up. Usually. There we go, I finally did it. Finally did it. That's guaranteed if the taunt hits you, right? So if this hits you, it's not gonna be a good time for you. You get hit by that, the back 4. After back 4, he's gonna do a combo, which I can't do right now. There we go. Something like this. Into a full combo. That was 76, and without Snake Eyes, right? It's gonna do like 80 something damage. So you have to be very, very careful about these kind of situations. Usually it's better to stay on the ground. Usually. And when you stay on the ground, you'll avoid this. But he's gonna get like a down 4 hit on you or something, right? He's gonna hit you with down 4, usually down back 3, maybe flip you over, because for some reason Bryan has that as well. This flips you over. Or down 3 plus 4, which will also catch you. But as I said, it's important to understand the mind game and sometimes decide to not get up. You have to like mindfully decide this on purpose, right? You're just gonna say, I'm not gonna get up because I'm playing against the Bryan, and Bryan is kind of broken at the wall, right? Okay. So these are the two wall combos I wanted to talk about. The main difference is one gives slightly better OK, not slightly, but better OK than the other one. It's taunt OK, right? And you have to remember, very important to remember. Sometimes you respect it, sometimes you don't. You mix it up, maybe sometimes spring kick, maybe sometimes do the other get up kick, whatever, right? You just mix it up. Don't take too much risks, because good Bryan players will actually do something like this, block, jet upper if you do a spring kick, let's say. So yeah, be very, very careful. Damage 1 plus 2 enter. Yeah, damage 1 plus 2 is one of them. As I said, I'm not going to talk about all of them, but these are two the most common ones I've seen anyway. Oh yeah. So now let's talk about heat. Okay, we're finally going to heat. Holy shit, I'm actually talking about Bryan for so long. So yeah, heat, a lot of stuff changes. So heat Bryan is one of the most broken Bryans and one of the most broken heats in the game, in my opinion. Right? Very, very, very strong heat. And the reason behind that is because he gains infinite access to his Snake Eyes, and his Snake Eyes is super, super strong. Super strong. So let's cover the Snake Eyes moves. So let's start with 3 plus 4. So 3 plus 4, 1 plus 2 is a -1 mid-mid. Right, -1. And this also wall splats. And the wall splat will deal this much damage to you, right? 85 damage if this hits you. This is a -1 mid-mid, by the way. Just throwing it out there. So very, very strong. Let's talk about the mind games after it as well. If you get hit, GG's, I guess, at the wall. And if you block it, let's say you block it, right? Since it's -1, usually it will be used at the wall. If it's not used at the wall, you just backdash away, go back to neutral. That's the best choice, usually. But at the wall, Bryan players might throw out a 1-4, because you might retaliate, let's say, with a slow move, so they might do a 1-4. They might do a sidestep duck into this, to expect something like a jab, right? The jab string, let's say a 1-1, or 1-2. They do something like this and then do this instantly, right? And this is easy to do because they can confirm this. It's pretty situation confirmable. Hit? No. Situation? Yes. They see something whiff, they throw it out. It's not that hard. But yeah, they have a lot of options there. You have to be very, very careful what option you choose specifically as well. Because after this, they can also do a down back 3, which is the high crush, right? You can't jab this. They can also do a down 4, which you can't do anything about. I already talked about this move, right? You can't do anything about this. You can interrupt it, but that forces you to mash, right? But they can also back 4. They can do a lot of stuff. A lot of stuff. So that's about 3 plus 4, 1 plus 2. More or less, the mind games can be complicated. It's -1, they can jab. And all the other checks I talked about, they can also do that. But usually you'll see a 1-4. Or a 1-1. Or a sidestep. A lot of stuff. So yeah. Look out for those. Very, very important to look out for those. Okay. That's about that. Now let's talk about the other heat moves. Let me talk about the ones that you will not see for now. And then I'll talk about the most problematic one later. So this hatchet and back 1 plus 2, these two heat moves or Snake Eyes moves, you won't see this too much. But they are options that Bryan players might go for. So this is a full crouch hatchet mix-up, -13, +7. Does a chunk of damage, right? The other one is back 1 plus 2, 20 frames fast, +4, guarantees, I think it guarantees, it's forced to crouch. It guarantees something, basically, I think they do this. So, yeah, these two you won't see as much, but very, very important to realize that they exist. Like this, for example, can be a thing, because down to go into crouch, as I already told you. And this, since you're just standing there and waiting for the last hit, this can mix you up. And it's gonna be a pure mix-up. You can't really do anything about that. CeeLo, thank you for following. Big thank you. Alright. That's very important. Now, let's talk about the very problematic move. Am I forgetting anything else though? 3 plus 4. Forward forward 1 plus 2. That's what I'm forgetting. So forward forward 1 plus 2. Sorry, hold up. This move. This move is very, very strong. So if you see like all the minus frame situations I talked about, let's say minus 5, minus 4, minus 6, all those situations like after 1 to 1, let's say, or 1 to 4, right? Those are minus 6, minus 5 situations. You might see this move just being thrown out, just like that. Just like it just thrown out. And the thing about this move is that it parries everything. It parries absolutely everything. No, this is not the most problematic. I just want to mention this as well. The most problematic, right? We all know what I'm gonna say, but yeah, this is very, very strong. Very strong. And you have to basically either... What are the options? You basically either have to duck it, side step it, or... I don't know, you don't want to block it, basically. You don't want to block it, because you want to avoid it. The main reason you don't want to block it is because it's plus 5. So the thing about this mix-up on block is very, very similar to the 3 plus 4 one, because in the neutral you kind of backdash to go back to neutral, but at the wall, very different situation, right? Yeah, it chips a lot as well. So chip, they might do a taunt mix-up, let's say, right, if you don't do anything. They might do a tracking move like this, or they might start jabbing you with either of this. So yeah, be very, very careful. Plus 5 situation is not something that's you want to be in against Bryan. Basically, think of it as blocking this. Very similar. So this on block and this on block are very similar. Very, very similar. And basically, this move is QCB1, but with a parry function. It also parries stuff, and also wall splats, right? So, and it's also faster, basically. Alright. That's about 4-4-1 plus 2. Let me think if there's any other heat move that I'm forgetting. I don't think I am, right? Other than the most problematic one, which is Incinerator, by the way. Spoilers. But yeah, I don't think I'm forgetting anything else. So now let's talk about Incinerator, which is forward 2 string, right? Like this. This right here. So this move is the strongest heat move he has, even though I just listed absolutely bonkers moves, right? Absolute bonkers, broken moves I just listed. But this triumphs even among them. Why? Oh yeah. So this move is a 15 frame move that you can use to check with, right? You know the checks I talked about, like these ones? Like this is 15, this is 14, 13, right? This kind of stuff. Or 17 with the tracking move. You can also use something like this in all those plus frame situations. Now, why would you consume heat? One is it doesn't really consume much. But if you see the heat consumption, it's really not that much. You can use it 3 times after a heat burst. I feel hello. So it's really not that much. And the main thing about this is that after these plus frames, if you try to actually move against this, let's say I try to sidestep, let's say, right? You cannot step left. This is for all his plus frame checks, by the way. I can't go to the left. For back one and the hatchet, you cannot. If you go to the right, it still tracks you. Because the follow-ups just, turn them around. Because Bryan. If you sidewalk, let's say I just commit to a sidewalk because, I know he's gonna do this. Doesn't work. It's still gonna hit you. So you cannot do anything about this. You can't. So that your options are limited to mashing a power crush or mashing a parry. But sometimes the parry doesn't even work. Damn, the parry didn't work there. Maybe the parry just doesn't work. But yeah, you can't do anything about this. And the guy who said you can power crush the last hit on the reaction, don't try that. It's not worth it. Usually it's not worth it. Because you may mess up and they just block the power crush. Not worth it. Okay. Yeah. Gaz, I'm talking about Gaz here. Gaz cannot go left after his plus frames. And let's check QCB1 because this one I don't remember. Hatchet, I'm 100% sure you can't. Wait. Let me just check QCB1. Oh yeah. So after QCB1, let me just check that to be sure. Okay, I can't sidewalk it because it tracks me, because of course it does. And you can't sidestep block it either. Okay, of course it does. So yeah, you can't do anything about QCP1 either. Let me try to go to the right. Can't sidewalk it, I get hit. Alright. Yeah, it just hits me. So yeah, this move just basically does everything for a Bryan player. Like as a check, that's why I said as a check, right? Can't do anything. Back, side, I can't back, sidestep, right? Because back blocks this. 91, hello. So yeah, plus frames into forward 2, you can't do anything about it. This beats almost every option. Back, sidewalk, left, I can't, bro, I can't. But yeah, very strong move, and they can also just throw it out in the neutral. So the only time you can actually do something about this, by the way, with Gaz anyway, is that if they throw it out like this. Let's say they're heat, they start backdashing and they just throw it out because, you know, it's a move that's fucking strong. It's that strong, right? They can just throw this out. And whenever you see this, you can start sidewalking to the left to avoid it. So you have to react to it, right? And start sidewalking to the left. This is how we can avoid it. This is in the neutral. If you block it, it's already GG's. I'm going to talk about the block mind game as well, because there are a little bit of mind games here, but it's very strong. Alright, let's talk about the block situation. Built intel up. So the block situation here is it's actually horrendous for you. So the thing about this is that the Bryan players have the option to stop their string anytime. Right? Obviously, they can just stop it anytime. And the thing about that is that they have different frames. So this, for example, is -2. And this knee right here is -3. And this knee is very delayable, by the way, as you guys can see. So if they stop here, it's -2, and they usually do something like this into 1-4 at the wall. Let's say, right? Do something like this into 1-1. Or they might even start taunting you or back 4 or whatever, right? They're -2, you're expecting the knee, you're not doing anything, they will basically start pressuring you again. They might even do something like this. Now you're annoyed. Now you don't know what to do. And the fun part about this... The fun part is that since you're expecting the knee, you usually don't do anything, right? You can step this, right? This is steppable. I just want to mention this, right? I know this is steppable here, but you're expecting the knee here, so you're slightly hesitating. Right? You're slightly hesitating, and everyone's slightly hesitating here. Unless you literally hard read. This is a hard read, by the way. If you hard read that they're gonna stop on the third hit, then you can sidewalk if they do it again, or you can, you know, maybe mash, right? You can do stuff. But this is a read. This is a read. But the other thing, this is also very important. I don't do this much because I don't play against Bryan that much. It's muscle memory kind of thing, but this is important to do. Is that whenever you do see the third hit, it's usually better, if you want to choose an option, it's better to sidewalk to the left than to mash a button, in my opinion, right? The main reason behind that is because Bryan players usually delay this knee. Usually. And if they delay this knee, you will actually sidestep. Sidestep or sidewalk, right? If you commit to a sidestep instantly after the third hit, you will be able to step this. Very important. Right? But if you decide to mash, let's say you decide to mash here, you will get hit by this. That's why I would almost always suggest to hard read the third hit and step after it. Why the hell did my electric whiff there? Amazing. Okay. So, yeah, very important for this mind game. And the last thing I want to talk about is when you block the, not the last thing, but one more thing I want to talk about is when you block the knee. So when you block this knee, this one, the mind game is basically they either finish the string or they don't. So they either 1-4, let's say after it, 1-1, let's say down back 3 because they're expecting you to jab. Let's say they will just hard duck you because they're expecting a 1-1 or a 1-2, and then you down forward 2-1 on full crouch because they want to wall spy. Right? They can do a lot of stuff. They can do a lot of stuff from there because they have the freedom to do that. Very big freedom. It's that word, but yeah, they have a lot of freedom. Yeah, forward 1+2 also being one of them, just to parry you, and also being +5, right? So that's why, as I said, if you want to choose to do something, usually choosing sidestep is the better option. The only exception here, this is one big exception about the knee, is at the wall. So at the wall, this is very important. I don't see a lot of people doing this. I don't know why. Like, I saw even Sephi playing against Starbreaker, and he was not doing this, punishing this move. Like, he was just not punishing this. But very important, everyone should know this. This move is punishable. It's -10. So let me just demonstrate this. This is -10. The only time this is punishable is at the wall. The only time. In the neutral, you cannot punish this, and you go back to, you know, playing neutral. But very important that whenever you block this at the wall, and you are actually guessing correctly, to always 100% of the time punish this. Never not punish this. Because this is a bullshit move already. It's super strong, super broken, and you have to punish this whenever you can, which is the only one situation is at the wall. Right? Punish with Hell Sleep, exactly. But one big thing about this, by the way, is that Bryan players actually duck after this. Like, they can do the full string and then just duck afterwards. You know? You know how Mishima players do messed up electric and duck sometimes? That's what they do. But, yeah. Be careful about that situation, basically. Very important to be careful. And the forward 2 in general is very strong, as I already said, and it's a very good checking tool. So no matter what, Bryan is always going to be a threat. So the strength about this character is that Bryan is going to be a threat no matter what distance he is in. Usually the distance is not this, right? This is not the usual distance you're going to play Degan in. Usually it's somewhere along these lines. And Bryan is still a threat here because of QCP1. Basically forces you to do stuff even though he is far away from you, right? But the moment he comes close to you, he's still a very big threat because of forward 3, 1, 2, 1. Let's say forward 2 in heat, forward 1 plus 2, whatever. Down 4, let's say. Very strong in both of these ranges. Very good. Very good. Especially because down 4 as a move exists. And I've talked about down 4 already, but down 4 really makes this character very strong. Like, very strong. Just that one move. It's that good. Yeah. Okay. Last thing we're going to talk about. I think I covered everything else. Maybe. If I forget something, it's fine. Whatever. But last thing we're going to talk about now is this move. So I'm not going to talk that much about this because you can't really do anything about this. So the block situation I'll talk about a little bit later, because first the important part is the hit situation, right? What to do against this. So one thing to do against this is a side step to the right. Do not step this to the left, right? Do not do that. If you step it to the left, there's slightly better tracking, it might clip you. It already can clip you anyway. But go to the right if you want to avoid the heat smash. And you also have to do stuff like this to, you know, punish it sometimes. Because, you know, heat smashes are fun. This is not just a Bryan heat smash problem, by the way. A lot of heat smashes have the problem of just running away from it. But if you want to step it, you go to the right. Usually, go to the right. It still tracks me though, okay. As I said, it sometimes tracks you. Okay. It's also a jumping move, so yeah, you can't use lows against it to check it. Let's say down 4 or down jump. You can't do that. It will hit you anyway. It also breaks the ground, so if you're playing against the Bryan with a wall break, not a wall break, floor break, this hit smash is basically a one-hit kill you. It hits you 100 damage, easily. So yeah, be very careful. When it comes to that, usually the better option here is to just hold back and block it. But now let's talk about the problem of blocking it. I'm guessing you guys already saw, most of you on YouTube already saw the block frames, right? It spans 15, so you don't want to block it. So now let's say you're on the floor break stage against the Bryan and he has heat available. What do? You just hold back like an idiot. That's what you do, and you block this. Now you're -15 and usually at the wall. So yeah, good luck, I guess. Good luck. Now let's just talk about this block situation real quick, because there's not really much to talk about. The +15, actually there's one thing very important to talk about, which is very broken. They really need to nerf this, by the way. Is after this option, it's still down 4, by the way, right? Down 4 just enables so many interactions. It's so fucking broken for this character. It's insane. So this interaction right here, you cannot low parry this. This is unlow parryable low. I already said multiple times about down 4 that you have to low parry this if you want decent reward, right? Unless you have an orbital or a hop, let's say. But you cannot low parry this, and you have to commit to a duck here. And you can't even do something like an orbital or a hop kick. which I already talked about, right? You do not have the frames for that. The reason you cannot low parry this, by the way, is because you don't even have a single frame. Low parries take one single frame. That's why you can't low parry it. Very important. But since you're forced to crouch, right? Bryan players are smart and they just do this. This is a mix-up. You're getting mixed right now, right? At the wall, plus 15. You're getting mixed by mid-mid. I already talked about that move, right? That will wall splat you just like that. That's also -1. I already talked about this move. I won't talk about too much, but this is a mix-up. That's a mix-up. You can't do anything about this, right? If you do decide to duck the down 4, it's a mix-up. That's why usually you will see a lot of players just eat it. They just eat the down 4. You know, it's just basically free low, basically, because it's too risky to duck. Even if you duck it while staying 4-4 or while staying 4 is not that big of a punish. Okay, now another part of this mix-up, which is another big problem, is that they don't have to choose a button. They actually don't have to. They just, you know, taunt because they can. Plus 15, you're standing there like an idiot. Oh, I'm scared. I hold back. Right? I'm holding back. Oh, I'm so scared. I'm not gonna do anything. I'm not gonna duck because I don't want to get hit by a mid. I'm not gonna do anything. Right? I'm scared. I'm -15. I can't even sidestep. I can't do anything. So the Bryan player just comes in your face and taunts you. Now that is a taunt mix-up. Right? Now you have to guess if they're gonna taunt or not. You have to guess. So sometimes you mash, sometimes you don't. Sometimes they think they know you're gonna mash, and sometimes they you know, counter hit you and, you know, kill you. Sometimes they do a back 4 on a slight delay timing, because what a lot of people do here, by the way, is hold back a little bit and then press a button if they see the Bryan player not choosing an option. Right? This is a smart thing to do. But Bryan players are even smarter than that. They're like a million IQ. What they do is, let me just showcase this. So they do this, basically something like this. They just dash forward for you to think that you're safe. Oh, I'm safe, you didn't press the button. And then when you try to interrupt, let's say you think a taunt is coming, back 4 in your face. And then, you know, jet upper, because that's guaranteed. So this is the kind of mix-up Bryan players might do. Good Bryan players do delay their options here. Or taunt dash back 4. Like, taunt dash is basically scarier because you're seeing a taunt and you're scared. It's the same mind game, but taunt just adds like a layer to it, right? So yeah, very, very important. And I basically told you that the heat smash is broken and there's nothing you can do about it, but it is what it is. What can I say, right? And this is, by the way, usually this is at the wall. In the neutral, when you block this, let me just mention this. In the neutral, when you block this, it's still the same situation, but you don't have to guess for your life because you can't get wall splatted by 3+4. But the situation is exactly the same otherwise. Down 4 is still not wall parryable, it's still a mix-up with a mid, and you still not worth it to duck it, and you still can't sidestep, and you still can't do anything. The only good thing about neutral is that they can't taunt you. You have to backdash, by the way. Very, very important. You have to backdash. They can't taunt you. What they can do is everything else, though. They're literally everything else. So yeah, good luck, I guess. Alright. Anything else I have to mention? Yeah, Andre, do you remember when they were plus 25 at the wall? That was fun. That was very fun. The heat dashes as well. Very fun for me, personally. But yeah, I think that's it. That's it. Up 4-3, I'm not gonna mention up 4-3. It's not really something that you should mention too much. But yeah. Did I mention the charge guard break? Oh, I didn't, actually. That's a good one. Let me actually... Before I forget. I did mention this move, but I didn't mention the charge up. I didn't mention this being -1, right? But almost forgot. So this move, let me just add this before I forget. Thanks to chat. Is that this move has a charge up version, right? And the charge up version is very important. At the wall, will wall splat you. It will wall splat you. And this will hit you at least once. If you're not expecting it, let's say you play against the Bryan on the first to 2, and you're losing, let's say it's 2-2, this will most likely hit you. You're not expecting it, it's very hard to react to. Not to mention in Season 2 it got buffed. and they can slightly delay it now. So they can do this and slight delay. That's possible now. So very important. Usually not that reactable, even though Bryan players will say it is. Don't fall for it. Oh, Sylvia, thank you for the raid, man. Big thank you. Big thank you. Really appreciate it. Really appreciate it. But yeah, very important to know this. I almost forgot about it, but yeah, I think that's gonna be it for the Speedlab and the YouTube. As always, big thank you for watching. Hopefully I didn't forget anything too important. I didn't talk about everything, as I said. I didn't really talk about everything, but yeah, hopefully not anything too important. There's a lot of stuff to talk about in general, but yeah, thank you once again for watching, and till the next one.